If you only see Venezuela through dry headlines about crisis, you'll miss one of nature's greatest symphonies. This is a journey that moves against time, where cities full of contradictions exist alongside mysterious caves deep underground, and the silver ribbon of Angel Falls pours down from the clouds. Don't just read the headlines. Come with us, listen closely, and help decode the mysteries hidden in the heart of South America. To truly understand Venezuela, you first have to look beyond grand architecture and step into the spirit of its people. Venezuela has been shaped through layers of encounters and upheaval. Indigenous civilizations lived across its plains, mountains, and river deltas long before Spanish colonization in the 16th century reshaped the land through conquest, Catholicism, and extraction. But Venezuela's identity has never been defined by crisis alone. At its core, Venezuela is deeply human. Spanish is the official language, spoken with regional rhythms that shift from the musical lilt of the Caribbean coast to the slower cadence of the plains. Indigenous languages like Wayuu-Niki, Warao, and Pemon still survive, carrying ancestral knowledge and worldviews tied to land and water. Venezuelans are expressive and community-minded. Music is inseparable from daily life. Joropo in the Llanos, drums along the coast, salsa and reggaeton in the cities. Food is shared even when it's scarce. Arepas are passed hand to hand, coffee is poured for guests without questions. Family and neighborhood bonds often fill the gaps where institutions have weakened. Located in the green heart of Venezuela's Canaima National Park, the Canaima waterfall system emerges as a majestic and enchanting symphony of nature. This is not a single waterfall, but a series of interconnected waterfalls including Hacha, Guadaima, Golondrina, and Yucaima, forming a vibrant ecosystem of water, rock, and ancient time. Here, the rivers don't simply flow down. They slide, split, and leap over vast Precambrian rock formations, creating countless white, curtain-like cascades that pour into dense forest corridors and expansive lagoons. The water is a clear amber color, like strong tea, a rare geological characteristic resulting from the accumulation of tannic acid from decaying forest leaves over millions of years. As the dark water cascades down, it powerfully impacts the rocks, creating a stunning visual contrast against the backdrop of the lush green primary forest. In Canaima, waterfalls are more than just landmarks. They are the language of the land itself, speaking through movement and the erosion of time. Located deep within Canaima National Park in Bolivar State, Venezuela, Angel Falls, or Salto Ángel, is not only a natural wonder, but also a proud symbol of South America. With an astonishing height of 979 meters and a straight, uninterrupted drop of 807 meters, it is the tallest waterfall in the world, 15 times taller than Niagara Falls in North America. The falls originate from the summit of Ollantaytambo Table Mountain, one of the oldest mountain ranges on Earth, with dramatic, sheer cliffs. From above, the water cascades down like a shimmering silver ribbon through the lush green valley. The most striking feature of Angel Falls is its mystical quality. Due to its immense height, the water is often blown by the wind, dissolving into a white mist before reaching the Churon River below, creating a scene that is both real and dreamlike, like a celestial paradise. The falls' international name originates from American pilot James Angel, who first discovered the falls by plane in 1933 and later made an emergency landing on the mountaintop in 1937. However, to the indigenous Pemon people, the falls have long been known as Querepacupai Meru, meaning waterfall of the deepest place. For them, the Tipui Table Mountains are the dwelling place of the gods, and Angel Falls is a sacred link between heaven and earth. Accessing the falls is a challenging but inspiring journey. It usually involves traveling by small plane through the jungle, followed by a boat trip along the river through pristine tropical forests. It is precisely this remoteness and ruggedness that has helped Angel Falls retain its pristine beauty. This majestic beauty is also the prototype for Paradise Falls in Pixar's famous animated film Up, where dreams and freedom intertwine amidst the lush green wilderness. The Churon River flows slowly and gently, as if it knows where it's going and wants you to keep up. This dark, slow-flowing river is the only path ahead, a waterway winding through the dense forest towards the ancient mountain ranges of the Guyana highlands. The river's water is tinged with tea by minerals and decaying leaves. In some sections it is calm as a mirror, in others it is fierce and turbulent. For generations, it has been the only way into the heart of the Tepui landscape. Dugout canoes have replaced roads, paddles have replaced engines. Surrounded by dense forest, the sheer rock walls begin to appear before us, abruptly and majestically. For centuries, this river has carried native guides, explorers, scientists, and seekers. Each bend reveals a hidden waterfall, another cliff covered in moss and shadow. The Churon River doesn't impress with its grandeur. It captivates you with its repetition and patience. Leaving behind the bare, haunting landscape of Guri, the horizon suddenly breaks open into 1,000 shades of blue. This is Los Roques, an archipelago of 350 islands, islets, and sandbars, forming the only true coral atoll in the Atlantic. The islands are scattered across the Caribbean with no obvious center. Water rules everything. Shallow lagoons shimmer in layered blues that change with cloud and wind. The horizon dissolves. Los Roques exists as a living national park. On the main island, Gran Roque, there are no cars, only sandy paths and brightly painted inns. Here, luxury sailboats anchor near humble local fishermen who have mended their nets in these waters for generations. What defines Los Roques is restraint. Development never arrived with force. The islands stayed low, exposed, and fragile. That fragility became protection. Even movement feels lighter. Footprints vanish within minutes. Anchors leave brief scars. Wind smooths everything back into place. At night, a surprising secret appears. Some bays begin to glow. Tiny plankton light up the water with bioluminescence, making it feel like you're floating through a liquid galaxy. It's almost unbelievable. An emerald refuge where the noise of the modern world finally dissolves into the rhythm of the tide. Among the scattered jewels of Los Roques, one island stands out like a visual impossibility. Cayo de Agua is often ranked among the most beautiful beaches on Earth, yet it remains almost eerily empty. A thin curve of white sand stretches between two clear, shallow waters. It's so narrow the sea presses in from both sides. Waves arrive from different directions. The sand holds. Walking this sandbar feels surreal, almost spiritual. You are literally moving along a narrow thread of sand, while two Caribbean bodies of water meet at your feet. On one side, deep sapphire. On the other, a pale emerald lagoon, glassy and calm. Its name carries a strange paradox. Cayo de Agua, the water key, is famous for rare freshwater wells, true gifts of life, hidden in a world of salt and sun. There are no buildings, no signs, no permanent structures. Boats come and go. Silence returns immediately. Fish scatter in the shallows. Rays glide close enough that you can see their shadows on the sand. Cayo de Agua is stunning from above, but it only makes sense when you're standing on it, watching the horizon dissolve into something dreamlike. Sailing west along the coast of Falcon State, the open sea gives way to a complex turquoise maze of mangroves and hidden lagoons. This is Morrocoy National Park, where the boundary between land and ocean becomes beautifully blurred. Here, the water is shallow and clear, like a giant natural mirror, reflecting the sky, often streaked with sudden flashes of pink. Morrocoy's magic is its closeness. In the shaded mangrove tunnels, scarlet ibises and American flamingos gather by the thousands, their feathers blazing against dark green leaves. Beneath your boat, ancient sea turtles glide through seagrass beds, sharing the water with tropical fish that look like liquid jewels. Mangroves dominate the landscape. Their roots rise from the water like scaffolding, holding sediment, protecting the shoreline, and creating nurseries for fish. The entire ecosystem depends on them. The water changes color with depth, pale turquoise near shore, darker channels farther out. Coral patches appear suddenly beneath the surface. Snorkeling feels effortless. The world reveals itself easily. During the week, Morrocoy can feel like a quiet wildlife sanctuary. On weekends, it transforms into a floating backyard party for Venezuelans from Caracas and Valencia, tying boats together to share music and seafood in waist-deep water. It's Venezuela in miniature, a deep inherited love for the wild, fused with an unbreakable desire to enjoy life. Leaving the humid coast behind, the road winds into the foggy Aragua Mountains. Then, something strange happens. Tropical palms disappear, replaced by thin pines, and suddenly the scenery feels like a geographic glitch. Colonia Tovar looks like it doesn't belong in South America. In 1843, nearly 400 German immigrants left the Kaiserstuhl region of Baden, driven by famine, economic collapse, and political unrest. Venezuela, eager to develop its highlands, offered land in the mountains west of Caracas. What they found wasn't rich farmland. It was dense forest, isolation, and a climate unlike anything they knew. They stayed. Cut off for more than a century, the settlers turned isolation into preservation. They built half-timbered houses with steep roofs, planted European crops, and spoke a dialect that slowly drifted away from modern German. Marrying outside the community was rare. Traditions became daily rituals. For generations, Colonia Tovar lived inward, farming strawberries and peaches, brewing beer, baking bread, and marking seasons as if the Andes were the Black Forest. Only in the mid-20th century, when roads finally reached the town, did Venezuela rediscover it. Los Llanos stretches wide and unguarded across the heart of Venezuela, a vast horizontal world where the sky feels larger than the land beneath it. During the dry season, the plains harden into endless grassland, cracked earth glowing under relentless sun. But when the rains arrive, everything changes. Rivers overflow their banks, the land dissolves into shallow water, and the plains transform into an inland sea that breathes with life. This seasonal rhythm creates one of South America's richest ecosystems, and it is here that Venezuela's largest populations of capybara thrive. Across the flooded savannas of Apure, Barinas, and Guarico, these animals gather in numbers that feel almost improbable. Entire families rest along riverbanks, half submerged, their bodies perfectly adapted to a world that is neither land nor water. Capybaras move without urgency. They graze calmly on fresh grasses made abundant by flooding, slipping into water at the slightest disturbance. Their eyes and nostrils sit high on their heads, allowing them to remain almost entirely submerged while staying alert. In the wetlands, they are both prey and anchor species, shaping vegetation, feeding predators, and sustaining balance. This is not wilderness untouched by humans, but a landscape negotiated daily between people, livestock, and wildlife. And the capybara, unhurried and resilient, has learned to live comfortably within all of it. As you wander the high valleys of the Merida Andes, the landscape suddenly stops feeling like Earth. This is the Paramo, a highland wilderness that looks like science fiction. A near-constant fog muffles the sound. The ground is covered with thousands of frailagnuns, strange velvet plants with silver leaf clusters and thick, fuzzy trunks. Locals call them big monks, and standing motionless in the mist, they really do resemble a silent order guarding the peaks. They grow slowly, only a few centimeters a year. Some have lived for centuries. The Paramo is an ecosystem of extremes, a desert that stays wet. Plants evolved to survive freezing nights and scorching days, using their fuzzy coats to pull moisture from passing clouds. It is one of the country's most important water sources, even though it looks harsh and bare. As you walk, you may find deep indigo glacial lakes, and high above, the rare Andean condor. Today, only about 10 to 60 wild individuals are believed to remain in the entire country. Leaving sunlit peaks behind, you step into the dark mouth of Cueva del Guacharo in Monagas State, carved slowly by water through limestone. This immense cave is an underground cathedral stretching more than 10 kilometers into the earth. But the real shock isn't the hanging stalactites as you enter, it's the sound. The cave is home to tens of thousands of guacharos, or oil birds, the only nocturnal fruit-eating birds in the world that navigate with echolocation. They live in total darkness, firing sharp clicks that ricochet off rock. With thousands nesting inside, the cave fills with noise that feels like radio static from another planet. In the far southeast, where Venezuela meets Brazil and Guyana, a sheer black wall rises 400 meters straight from the jungle, tearing into clouds and sky. This is Mount Roraima, the most famous of the tapuas, among the oldest geological formations on Earth, dating back about 2 billion years. For indigenous communities, Roraima is sacred. For explorers, it was an obsession. For literature, it became a myth. In 1912, Arthur Conan Doyle imagined it as the Lost World, a place where time forgot itself. Reaching the top takes days of trekking through jungle and mist. The summit feels lunar, black rock, pink sand, and fields of quartz crystals. The soil is poor, so life turns strange and dangerous. Carnivorous plants trap insects in slick mouths. There are no trees, only tiny bonsai-like shrubs and a small black toad that cannot jump or swim, a prehistoric relic. In the far northwest of Venezuela lies a body of water so vast, it creates its own weather and shapes the fate of a nation. Lake Maracaibo is not just a lake. It is one of the oldest geological basins on Earth, a 20-million-year-old remnant of an ancient sea, older than the Amazon's modern course and older than most mountain ranges around it. Fed by dozens of rivers and connected to the Caribbean through a narrow strait, Maracaibo sits somewhere between lake and ocean, unstable, hybrid, and alive. Here, in 1499, Amerigo Vespucci saw indigenous communities living in wooden stilt houses built above the water. The scene reminded him of Venice, and he called the land Venezuela Little Venice. A name born not from maps or empires, but from reflections on water. For centuries, the lake-shaped life, fishing villages rising and falling with the tide. Trade routes following its currents. Later, oil was discovered beneath its floor, turning Maracaibo into the nation's economic engine and filling the horizon with rigs and pipelines. Exploring Maracaibo feels like traveling through a time paradox, a 20th century oil boom reflected in a mirror that has existed since the Miocene. It is the cradle of national wealth and the birthplace of the country's name. At the mouth of the Catatumbo River, lightning strikes with relentless precision. Flashes can hit up to 300 times an hour, lighting the clouds all night long, bright enough to be seen from about 400 kilometers away. That's why it's called the Lighthouse of Maracaibo. This is Catatumbo lightning, the most intense and consistent lightning phenomenon on Earth. For centuries, this light served as a beacon for sailors and a source of fear and reverence for local communities. The Pemon believed the flashes were the glow of ancestral spirits, while modern science points to a volatile collision. Cool Andean winds meeting warm, moisture-rich air and methane rising from wetlands. A fiery halo that never fully goes out, proving that even in the darkest corners of the world, Venezuela finds a way to light its own path. At first glance, the Caroni looks unreal, Flowing like liquid onyx through the Guyana highlands, it is a geological and visual wonder. The water is deep, tea black, stained by tannins from millions of fallen leaves. But slicing through that darkness are violent streaks of white foam, where rapids crash over rock and gravity accelerates the current. The contrast feels almost impossible, like ivory lace dancing on black velvet. Just downstream from the wild Caroni stands a monument to human ambition and nature's eerie silence, the Guri Dam. One of the largest hydroelectric projects on Earth, it turned a vast tropical valley into Lake Guri, an artificial sea so immense it even altered the local climate. Rising from the water are thousands of dead trees, sun-bleached and skeletal like bony fingers reaching up from below. Locals call them the White Bone Islands. These trunks are the remains of a forest sacrificed to power a nation. Their pale color cutting sharply against deep water. There is a story from the 1980s, known as Operation Guri, when rescue teams raced the rising floodwaters to save thousands of animals stranded on shrinking hills that were turning into islands. Today, as you move through this flooded maze by boat, what remains is a vast, unsettling quiet. On the sun-bleached, arid plains of the northwest, there is a city built from the very ground beneath it. Founded in 1527, Santa Ana de Coro became the first capital of the Captaincy General of Venezuela and a key Spanish outpost on the Caribbean coast. Coro is a rare historical crossroads, a meeting point of two rival empires. Cobblestone streets and ornate churches carry a Spanish signature, while many homes reflect Dutch influence, shaped by strong trade ties with nearby Curaçao and Aruba. The blend created an architectural style found nowhere else in the Americas. Warm earth tones and Caribbean blues combined with European roofs and arcades. Pirate raids scarred the coast. Independence movements passed through its streets. Nearby, Venezuela's tricolor flag was raised for the first time in defiance of Spain. And still Coro endured, quietly surviving for centuries in buildings that should have collapsed long ago. Living in Caracas means living in constant motion, a city powered by wild energy and concrete giants. But on its southeastern edge, like a secret whispered inside a roar, sits El Hatillo. Founded in the late 18th century as a refuge for those escaping colonial pressure, El Hatillo grew slowly, carefully, without urgency. Its layout never changed. The town bursts with color. Each house is painted in a different bold shade: tangerine, violet, mint, framed by dark wooden windows and shaded balconies where elders sit and watch the day pass. It became a favored retreat for the upper class, yet never lost the humble soul of a small town. While the capital expanded into a chaotic metropolis, El Hatillo held onto its intimate scale. Life revolves around the plaza, where time is measured not by clocks, but by the length of a conversation over strong Venezuelan coffee. It is a paradoxical island of calm, proving that even near one of the most turbulent urban regions on Earth, faith, community, and slow living can survive. There is no road to Chuao. To reach this legendary coastal village, you take a small Peñero boat and skim across turquoise Caribbean water, with the towering green walls of Henri Pittier National Park rising beside you. Founded in the colonial era, Chuao became one of Venezuela's most important cacao producers. It is home to what many consider the finest cacao in the world, a bean so prized that elite chocolatiers speak the village's name almost in a whisper. The heart of Chuao is its colonial church, but the real ceremony happens right in front of it. The wide stone plaza, once reserved for prayer and processions, has been held for centuries by the women of the village, guardians of the cacao. No factories, no hurry. Thousands of cacao beans are spread into a shimmering brown carpet and raked by hand under the sun until they reach the perfect dryness. Later, those beans will sell for a fortune in Paris or Tokyo, yet they are still prepared using methods established more than 4 centuries ago. In Chuao, life is measured by the cacao harvest. The village remains a stronghold of Afro-Venezuelan culture, where the legacy of slavery has been transformed into global excellence, one bittersweet bean at a time. Just beyond the ancient adobe walls of Santa Ana de Coro, the world suddenly drops its tropical green and turns into a blazing yellow sea of sand. Medanos de Coro is a Sahara-like landscape pressed against the Caribbean. Giant dunes rise up to 40 meters high, but they are not still. They are a dry ocean in motion. Driven by non-stop trade winds, the dunes behave like a living creature, swallowing paths and reshaping themselves hour by hour. There is no vegetation to slow them, no fixed trail to follow. Sometimes you'll spot camels, an unexpected local detail that turns the scene into a mirage, making you wonder if you're still in South America or somehow slipped into the Sahara. Margarita is called the Pearl of the Caribbean, the most vibrant, high-energy note in Venezuela's geographic symphony. From the moment you arrive, Everything feels open to the sky. Beaches stretch wide, white sand reflecting sunlight until the air shimmers. Wind moves freely, carrying salt, music, and voices across open spaces. Fishing boats glide back at dusk, nets heavy, engines low, routines unchanged. Margarita is built on bold contrasts. 16th century Spanish fortresses like Castillo de San Carlos de Borromeo stand beside neon avenues and busy harbors. Island culture here blends history with a modern, sleepless rhythm. You can find adrenaline and crowds at Playa El Yaqui, where kiteboarders chase the wind, then cross to the Macanao Peninsula and step into a red earth wilderness where goats roam free. Located on the northwestern coast of Venezuela in the Falcon state, Chichiriviche serves as a vibrant gateway to a tropical wonderland. For generations, Chichiriviche has lived off the sea. Low-lying houses, sandy streets, and boats lazily swaying on the shallow water. Fishing boats leave the harbor before dawn, returning with their day's catch as soon as the sun rises high enough to warm the docks. The essence of Chichiriviche lies in its small islands, cayos. From the bustling coast, colorful wooden boats called peñeros take you across the crystal-clear waters to secluded paradises like Cayo Muerto, Cayo Sal, and Cayo Peraza. Here, the sand is fine as white powder, contrasting with the deep turquoise of the palm trees and the translucent turquoise of the sea. Beneath the surface, a lush world of coral gardens and tropical fish awaits those who dive into its warm embrace. You arrive in Venezuela with curiosity, maybe even with assumptions. But you leave with understanding and a kind of quiet obsession with what you've really seen in its people. This place doesn't need to perform. It already exists quietly, in the warao's paddle strokes, in the sun-browned hands that dry cacao in Chuao, in the immortal rhythm of salsa in the capital. It's the heartbeat of a country where nature and people refuse to be forgotten. Subscribe to keep traveling with us as we uncover the most breathtaking hidden corners of our world.